Hello, welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Jeffrey Card, but who cares who I am? This is Susan Oleinik.
Hi.
She is a UX designer, a senior UX designer at Undead Labs. She worked on State of Decay 2, and she's got a dog on her lap. What is this dog?
This is Wonder's dog, not mine, but we stole him because he believes in us more than anything. This is Falcor, and he is our mascot here, so... Hello, Internet. I'm a cute dog. Yes.
And speaking of cute dogs, Brant Fitzgerald is sitting next to you. He's going to be playing the game today. And well, let's just get right into the game. Let's unpause and start going.
So what is the state of decay
well,
in this game currently?
After the State of Decay.
Yes, we had State of Decay 2 last week.
Oh gosh, how many people died? Sorry, Daisy, I love you.
There were 2 fatalities.
Yeah, 40% of our community was killed by the State of Decay.
All right.
It's pretty impressive.
So
go for a
I
higher number
think
next time.
what we really need to do is find some people.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
It's a little bit of influence. So, Susan is our Dev of the Month this month, which means we've collected some questions for her from the internet. But if you guys also have questions about things like UX, actually, you know what? We should probably start with the big question that I'm sure you get asked all the time, which is, what is UX?
That is a great question, and boy howdy. I don't know about all of you guys on the internet, but when you go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and your parents ask how work is, I have a hard time explaining to my family what I actually do, but I'll give it a whirl. So UX for video games is about crafting experiences and interfaces that feel good to play and that meet the needs for a wide range of people. And I know it sounds kind of earthy and loosey-goosey, but it's a very important part of the process.
What does it stand for?
User experience, so UX, which is great. So that's not UI, it's confused with it because usually they're done in conjunction. UI is the visual, actual buttons and the hierarchy of the information and stuff like that. So
like all this stuff that Brant's got open here,
right.
the menus, the orange outline, the black background, the
right.
gray buttons, that's all UI.
That's the UI, but this is actually a great screen if we can keep this up for a while. I was brought on, full honesty here, about the last third in the State of Decay 2. So a lot of stuff was already done, but I came on board to help duct tape things and, cleanly develop all these things. The inventory screen is one of the first things I got to take a crack at to see what we had going in the game, which was functional, and then really tear it apart and figure out what it is people actually need out of this screen. What are some things that really annoyed a lot of people, because a lot of internal developers were like, this one thing really annoys me. And, I think everyone is a user, everyone's a player, so everyone's opinions are really valid. So it's my job to go around, listen to what a lot of people have to say, condense that into feedback, and then move forward with that. And there's a lot of problems with our inventory when I first got my hands on it, but I think that with a lot of iterative process and feedback from the team and feedback from testing, we got to make something that works pretty well. And then it went down the line to our UI artist, Alan, and then our UI implementer, Krista, that then made it live and happen in the game. So generally that's the chain of command of my day-to-day. Either it's taking an existing thing and figuring out what we can do better about it, or if it's something brand new, Mr. Card and I work a lot together. We're both very talkative people, so we...
Yeah.
Shocking.
There are a few pairs in the office where you get them in one room. It's really hard for anyone else to get a word in edgewise, and me and Susan is one of those pairs.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Brian in a room, it's like a nuclear bomb hits the place and everyone else is knocked flat.
Oh, it's a lot like Zootopia, where you start a howl, you know, and the wolves just go off each other. If Brian and Jeffrey and I are in the same room, we just get so excited off each other's energy. But that's good. Hi, yes, would you like to speak?
This is literally how our meetings work.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Brian and Jeffrey are very excited about the things they do, and I feed off energy, and I love that. The problem is they want to do all of the things.
Yeah, one of the mistakes that a systems designer like me and Brian can make is to get so involved in how fun it is to design a complicated and intricate and interconnected system that it's easy to get way ahead of the UX. And design something that it's impossible to come up with a good menu for. Yeah. And lot of the time, like, one piece of advice that I got earlier on in my career when I was going to a UX designer, a former company, and I had this great idea in my head for how reloading guns was going to work in this weird mobile game. And it was a weird game. I couldn't make it work like just traditional, console games or whatever. You just hit X to reload or whatever. I had to come up with something weird. And
we need to turn this volume down.
oh yeah, I probably can do that in a second. And so I was trying to come up with a something funky, and I had this great idea, like, look at this complicated UX I came up with so the players can understand what's going on. And he looked at it and he was like, you know what? I don't understand this. And if I'm having this much trouble understanding it, maybe what you need isn't a better UX. Maybe you don't need to come up with a better bunch of buttons and meters and things like that. Maybe what you need is a different system, a simpler system that just automatically suggests an easy UX. And so I've had to learn to, like, rein in my ambitions for how complicated I want a game to be, because once it gets to, like, I don't want to hand Susan a disaster that she has to solve. I want to hand her something that is beautiful and elegant, where she can focus on making the experience pleasant, not just decoding the disaster that I'm trying to create.
Yep. And sometimes Jeffrey and Brian and the other designers get so excited about building a thing that sometimes I get to be the, unfortunate voice in the room that says maybe we shouldn't do the thing. And that's a really hard conversation to have, but it's my job to consider the player's perspective, so you guys' perspective, on how this whole thing feels. And maybe we don't need 30 lines of text to describe a thing, but I know you love words so much. So.
And also, sometimes it's Susan's job, and you guys, in about a week, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about some of the things that Susan has been doing since the game came out.
Yeah.
But there's one specific example of a case where it went the opposite way, where I came in with a hacky idea to sort of barely make something happen, and Susan's like, hold on. We could do it your crappy way, Jeffrey. Or why don't we just look at what the right way might be, and came up with a solution that actually not only was it was more complicated, but not that much more complicated, and it was way more usable. Yeah. And so it was,
for the record.
And you guys don't know what we're talking about, but you will soon.
This is really rough. I have to be honest with you guys. I am working on a bunch of things, and these guys too, that I really want to talk and tell you about, but I can't, and which makes interviewing really hard right now, because I just need to just to not talk. So there is an official flow, the way I prefer to do UX, but part of being in the industry for a while is realizing when you need to be a little more agile.
Yeah.
And so the thing was, when you're about to ship a product, you're under the gun and you got to get things done as quick as possible. And we are post-launch, and that means we now have a little more breathing room, shocker, to work on a few things. And so it's nice when we think we're in a crunchy mode. We're not. We say, hey, Jeffrey, let's do the real option.
So, speaking of things we've done post-launch,
Yeah.
Derek Blaze wants to know, were you involved with the locker sorting change that went into the, where we have buttons that you can push in the supply locker to sort the guns different ways?
Yes.
Okay,
I was
cool.
involved on that. That came from feedback we found on the internet. Believe it or not, I read the internet. I love the... Now, don't think you have a direct line of contact. That's a little too much. But I really do pay attention, and also Jeffrey and a lot of other design and Fogey and everyone. We pay a lot of attention to what...
And Megan and Joe Swarner.
Yeah, we have... A lot of us are huge fans of you guys as well as you're fans of us. So we love hearing feedback. We pay attention to it. And if it's something that's really valuable that we can do, there's a lot of things you guys write about that I wish we could do so bad, but feasibly it's tough. Someone had mentioned a Sims-like building.
Oh yeah,
that was one of the questions.
It's one of our questions.
Asked.
Yeah, let me see who that was.
I love the Sims so hard. I love. Oh man, I'm very happy with what we shipped, considering everything we went through to make this game happen. That being said, I would love granular base building where you get to I want it to be like you forge 10 feet of chain link fence, and then you come back and you decide where that goes because you know which direction zombies spawn. Like, that's the kind of granularity I wish could have made it into the game, but there's always 5,000 wishes that happen that just feasibly can't make it in.
So yeah, that question came from someone on Twitter named Aspire to Inspire, at Jacko7Daniel. And yeah, they wanted to know about whether when can we have that level of base building, and there's a lot of different concerns because there's the technical side of trying to create a system like that, which is much more complex than just a here's a slot, put a thing in it type system.
Right.
And there's also just the balance of complexity. There's some players who don't want that kind of complexity in the game.
Sure.
And so it's like trying to figure out the right balance where you get the players who want it get enough complexity that they're satisfied, but the players who don't want to deal with the complexity aren't overwhelmed by it.
Right.
And there might not be a perfect balance for that, and trying to come up with the right answer is really hard.
It is a moving target, and that's why we need to think big picture on what is State of Decay and are we doing right by the franchise itself. And so some of those questions get answered by, is this in the spirit of what we're trying to achieve? So sometimes the answer is no.
Chief Firebird says, as a UX designer, you probably played a big role in the upcoming difficulty increase. Man, wouldn't it be nice if we could talk about that yet?
Trying an end run.
But yes.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard of such a thing.
It has been announced that we are doing some kind of difficulty thing,
so
and that it's the next thing we're doing. Just the only, that we just can't talk about any of the details. But you were instrumental on that team, and I think it's fair. It's fair to say yes. If you get in there and you love the way things are working in there, a lot of that belongs to Susan. So, and also a bunch of other people. But
it's a whole team effort. Can we talk about production process here? Would
yeah,
that bore
please.
you guys? I hope not. So there's different styles of how to make video games, and when I came on board, we were doing more waterfall. So it's like a conga line. Design like Jeffrey would make a thing. UX would design the thing. UI would make it. Engineers would implement it. It just went down in a conga line. And there's pros and cons to that. But we've been trying a new production called story mapping, where we have a designer, we have UI and UX, we have an engineer, an artist, all in the same room, and we really brainstorm out a feature from nose to tail all the way through, and then we start dicing up into pieces. And so instead of things being siloed off, we're doing a lot more collaborative stuff. And our upcoming thing that I can't talk about, and the other upcoming thing that I can't talk about, we're both designed with that kind of a process, which I think has made for really good stuff because we have optimal engineering. I think we've brought out the best in our designers. I've been able to be on something from day one instead of brought in last minute to frantically duct tape things up. This is great. And artists been given a lot of time to really know what the spirit of the thing is, and so I'm really excited to see how you guys feel about this. I'm really proud of how they're turning out. The first upcoming thing, I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to have been a part of it because as a fan of State of Decay, it's something I really wanted, and I really hope you guys love it too.
Yeah, those old like waterfall styles of work. A lot of the problem is just like you end up with whoever's at the end of that waterfall, whoever gets the thing last, is the one who sometimes they will notice really important problems because of their expertise. Like an artist might realize hey, this whole feature that you put together and handed to 4 different people and before it finally came to me. I know a thing that means that we should have done this a completely different way.
Oh, yeah.
But I wasn't invited to any of the rooms where people were talking about that, and so you guys didn't know. And now either we have to do it wrong, or we have to start all over to do it right. And getting those people, and so you ended up with a lot of people on a team who can get really, really frustrated over time as that happens to them again and again and again. And it's also bad for designers, even though designers are often the first people in that chain, and we're not the ones who get handed the thing last. We still get frustrated too because if we're not talking and getting all those opinions early on, we don't want to design things that are unworkable. We don't want to make things to write up documents about grand designs that are never going to happen. We want to understand our constraints. We want to design the best thing, and we also feel like crap. When things go wrong that way. And so having everyone in the same room and making sure that the artists and the programmers and the audio folks and everybody else are just as invested right at the beginning in what we're building as we are, it's so much better. It goes smoother for us. Nobody's mad at us.
It just again brings out the best in everybody. And making games, unless you're an indie developer of one person, is a team sport. It's really important for all of us to come together and throw our different specialties together to really make a good product. And the thing is, we're all different kind of personalities. Shocker, And even within specialties, there's a lot of different kinds of programmer. But programmers are generally very practical. Designers are very whimsical and pie in the sky, wanting all the things. And so we have to.
Except Brian, he's very practical.
Well, he's that too. Actually, there's a great question here from Blaze Experience.
Yeah.
Said, hey. So he asked, are you sort of the voice for the end user when something new is being designed or programmed? Is that a bad way to look at it? No, not at all. It's a great way to look at it. It actually feeds what we were just talking about. Sometimes programmers or other departments practically really bring in, well, as the person that does what I do, this is the best way to do the feature, which is good because I'm not going to pretend to know the best way to code something for it to be optimal. But I'm one of the people in the room that can say, as someone that plays a lot of games and I'm trying to get in the head of one of our gamers, this doesn't feel right. And I know this saves us X amount of memory, but if we don't have this little small piece, people aren't going to know what the heck is going on. And so
so it's worth a sacrifice, and you can kind of tell sometimes when something is worth a sacrifice and when it's not.
Yeah,
right?
And on the flip side, sometimes some people, like Mr. Card, think this thing is amazing, people are going to love it. And I'll be like, you know, actually, I think it's not going to matter as much as you think it will because we already have B and C in place. We don't need D and X, Y, and Z.
So you can see how that can sometimes put Susan in an awkward position, and why it's really good to get everyone, you know, in the same room at the beginning, so she doesn't feel like she has to crush people's dreams, but can be involved in planning the dream at the outset. And you know, one thing that I'm planning, you know, when we're looking at you know, what the future of State of Decay is going to be, and I'm sort of already getting ideas for like the parts of it that I would work on and how I'd want to do it. When I'm planning out, you know, the process I'd want to go through, now step one for me is going to Susan and Vicky and, you know, and their team and saying, okay, first, what should this feel like to the player? What should this look like to the player? And then second, how do we underpin it? Like, I'll design my system after we figure out what the experience should be like for the player, because going that direction, I mean, there's a million different systems you can come up with, but there's only usually a handful of different ways to present something that'll make sense to a player and feel right to a player. And so discovering those first, I think could really do a good job of informing the work that I do. So that's what I'm hoping to do. You guys, you know, Susan's gonna have to hold me to that once we actually get into the thick of things, and you know, can't see the forest for the trees anymore because we're right in the middle of the fight. But yeah, fog of war can make you do some weird stuff that you would never do if you're sitting back and trying to plan how it ought to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's see here. Oh, so Tyler Kitsume has a question. Will we ever see the Network and Red Talon go in all-out war? If they do, how do you think that would affect the player? So early on, we had a lot of thoughts about what we might do with the Network and Red Talon, and unfortunately, you know, your eyes are always much bigger than your stomach when you're very early on planning a game. So we came up with these factions kind of specifically imagining that there might be times when they get into conflicts with each other, and we haven't had the opportunity to pay that off. But the thing that's nice about, you know, the fact that we got purchased by Microsoft and that the long-term plan is to keep making State of Decay, it means we're going to get opportunities in the future to pay off on whatever we want to. Maybe it'll be that because that was the plan we made at the beginning of State of Decay 2, or maybe we'll end up going in a totally different direction. And so definitely no promises. But wouldn't it be interesting though? Like that sounds like an interesting situation, because the story of State of Decay is always an intimate story about your community. It's never really the story of the world. You're not the big superhero who's going out to stop the zombie plague for everybody. You're just trying to help this one little group survive. And so the experience of like big political factions like Red Talon and the Network getting into conflict, mostly that would be the backdrop to something that's much more intimate to you. Like you know, you'd be like the people, it'd be more like This War of Mine, where, you know, when you're playing This War of Mine, you don't know who's winning the war. You don't care who's winning the war. You're trying to survive day to day in this battlefield. And I think that's the kind of experience that State of Decay would always kind of give you when you're trying to deal with these big, you know, broader political conflicts, is how does this feel to the people on the ground? So that was more of a broad question for all of us. Someone's knocking at the door. Oh, it might be.
They fetched Felcor.
I'm looking for
We lost
the
our
dog.
dog.
Oh no! But let's grab a question.
I can't play anymore.
Oh, let's grab a question for
Not
Susan.
without Falco.
Let's see here. Okay, you already answered the question about The Sims. Let's see here. Oh, you kind of already answered. So Gabriel Manzano asked a question about, you know, what your position of the lab is, like what, you know, what you're supposed to do. Is there kind of a like the day-to-day process, like what tools you use and what kind of training you needed to do the job that you do? Maybe fill in some of those blanks.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I did not enter the game industry in UX. This is actually a relatively recent career to have specifically.
Yeah, there was no such thing as a UX designer
right.
10 years ago.
So I actually, I just celebrated my 10th year in the game industry. Yay! lasted that long. Side note, this guy right here is my uncle in the game industry. He was there at my second job as a complete noob, and he, you know, took me under his wing, and I've been razzing him ever since. So I owe this guy a lot. It was him and my friend Matt that got me the job here at Undead Labs. So
No, you got the job here at Undead Labs. Matt and I were just sitting there with pom-poms jumping up and down saying this is a great idea.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. So the wire on that controller went kind of weird earlier today. I'll see if I can give you some more slack.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
It's good.
But
It was hooking under
technical
that.
difficulties.
So it's all good.
So
this thing came apart earlier, and I was
What is
disaster.
that person? Freaky
There we go.
feeling.
So, anyways, I started off in the game industry as actually an environment artist. I went to school for graphic design, and then as I was finishing up that, I got sick with a really nasty form of mono. Sorry, TMI, but you have subscribed to the Susan channel, and now you get to know my life story.
That's right.
Congratulations. Well, anyways, it's one of those things where I was on a 4-year track to get my BFA, yeah, and then all of a sudden, bam, I was back. I had to redo a semester of school. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, you have to understand.
I did that too, but just because I was an idiot. So
you have to understand, when I was that age, that was the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. So I was homesick. I couldn't go anywhere. I was playing a ton of video games, and it kind of dawned on me, I don't know, you know, life can change so quickly. Maybe I should do what I really want to do. I want to make video games. Can one make video games? I wasn't quite sure, and so I consulted the internet, although
bummer.
this was 2000, you know, 4 or 5 internet, so it's a little different than it is nowadays. But, and I found a place to get an undergrad with an emphasis on game design, and so I moved up to Seattle, went to college, got my degree, met Mr. Heiniger actually in college, we were really old buddies, and then got my first job in the game industry as an environment artist, building out little set pieces and stuff like that. And I popped around different job to job. It was during the recession. There's a lot of layoffs and up and down. It was kind of crazy. But what it taught me is to, when you get a job, to try to make yourself useful in as many ways possible. Instead of just focusing on one thing, I tried to be really flexible and pitching in anywhere they needed art. I'll art because I want to make games so bad. And so I was at Zombie Studios, which doesn't exist anymore, but I was working on, I was at lunch, I was just kind of doodling for fun and drawing, and the art director came by and said, wow, you have a really graphic art style. How do you feel about helping the UI team? And I was like, well, what's UI? I didn't. Because I've worked at studios where it's just the art team also made the UI. It wasn't a separate, you know, discipline that was overly thought of. It was just done as needed. And I was basically dragged onto the, not dragged, drafted, yes, I went willingly. But basically they needed so much UI help that they brought on this kid that didn't know what she was doing, and before I knew it, I was being trained up. I learned under some really talented people, and then I never looked back, and so I did a lot of UI, and then my last career I was at Warner Brothers, working on a bunch of DC Comics stuff, and I got to also dabble in UX, and it was fantastic. I did both UI and UX. Oh, Brant.
Oh no.
Run!
His weapon just broke, so
Get in the car.
he's having a sad time.
Anyways, I started specializing in UX, and then Undead Labs had a UX position I've wanted to work with for so long that they let me pop on board. So I had a really windy path of how I ended up here. I think that my career in the game industry really helped me be a better UX designer because I can think a lot from different departments on what my choices mean in my current job. Also, I play a ton of games, so I was a big fan of being involved. So, anyways, that's a long-winded answer, but nowadays there's actually degrees in UX, and I'm sure they're teaching Photoshop in the womb now. So,
Joshua Udiski on Facebook had asked, you know, like, if somebody wants to get a job doing what you do, what should they do now? So there's entire degree programs in it these days.
There's whole entire degree programs. I don't know personally which ones are good or not, which ones are hopping on the bandwagon, because there's a lot of that in the creative field of
every community
tech
college
being like,
has
yes,
a game design class.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but just do your research. And the other great thing is you have the internet. There are so many amazing articles and classes you can take online to teach you how to get into it. I think also there's a bunch of personality types that work really well for UX. You have to be, well, a people person and have a lot of empathy on trying to feel what would feel best in a situation. This is especially challenging if you're making a game that isn't your cup of tea. Now, I love State of Decay very much, but I've definitely worked on a few games that's not not something I would do for fun. I cut my teeth on the Saw video game survival horror series. And I am, you know, a My Little Pony fan, so there's your lovely juxtaposition for the day.
I had the opposite problem.
Yeah.
I was making Over the Hedge for PSP like 10 years ago, so it was, you know, and I wanted to be making things like State of Decay. So,
but here we are now making State of Decay. Anyways, so the good news is if you want to get in the game and if you want to specifically get into UX, there's a lot of amazing resources and there's a lot of opportunities, and not just in video games. Now that people caring about user experience is more known and acknowledged, and we all have these magic tiny black mirrors in our pockets now. I don't have mine on me.
Yeah, I'm sure that like Netflix probably has an enormous, you know, UX department.
They do. Actually, I have a friend that works there. So there's a lot of anything that needs to be on a phone or on a computer. There's a lot of companies now looking for UX. So I think there's a great opportunity to jump into this industry and really be a great way of humanizing technology and making it more fun and usable for everybody. So,
we have
hardware.
We had, oh, what'd you say?
Software. Sorry, you'd asked about which software I use.
Okay,
for my
sure.
actual day-to-day, I actually use Illustrator for nearly everything, just because I like working in vectors, because I can just grab everything and change it. I am right now going through a process, because we are in a we are
looking at the future.
We're looking into the future, and so I've been doing a lot of research on finding new wireframing software to use. And so, if anyone can suggest any, if you happen to be a UX nerd, pop me a line. I'm right now experimenting with Adobe has a new line, which is great because we already have the 3D suite at work. And I'm giving that a whirl this week to see if we like it. So it's an ongoing thing. Another thing about, well, I think anyone in the game industry, not just me, it's important to continue to learn after you get in. You get in, you're not just an expert who stay there. You gotta keep on trying to figure out how to do things better and growing as a person. Everything better.
So I should step in and say we're in about 15 minutes. We're going to have a quiz. So if you want to stick around here, we're giving away pins. So don't leave if you want to get a State of Decay pin, because we're going to have to ask a trivia question and do a giveaway. We also got a couple of questions for Brant. First off, well, you know what? Okay, wait, you just took care of the feral. You're fine.
Yeah,
they want to know,
Breathe.
Glass Babies wants to know if that tattoo has anything to do with zombies.
Well, this is State of Decay right there.
Yeah, you kind of started with the State of Decay Skull Eagle, right?
The SOD logo, and then technically, well, I mean, if you want to get really into it, the sugar skulls are, you know, talking about people who you sort of life after death. No, it's these aren't to do with zombies. These are philosophical, at least the philosophy that I like to follow. But you know, I love the zombies. I put them on my skin forever. So.
And then another. This is more of a representation of marginalized communities type story, type question. Awesome Twitch dude wants to know, how come we don't have any bald survivors?
I'm sure the character team have.
Okay, switch the camera off from us. For a second.
We don't.
I'm kind of bald by choice a little bit. So you know, I don't know if that counts. But I think we just didn't do it. I don't know. I'm sure there must have been a reason, but I don't actually know what it was.
We have characters that
They have
like,
very short hair, at least, right?
Yeah.
And you know, all of the characters who are wearing hats are bald.
Yeah, every single one.
Every single one of them. Let's see here. So, Omega 42 wants to know. This is a kind of a random question. It's more for me, I think. The radio comments and the stories from Red Talon and the network that sort of that progress over the course of your game. They're asking, do they reset when you start a new community? No, they don't. The idea is that each of your communities, they all exist in the same world. You're not starting the game over completely from scratch. You're having like different communities that live in the same environment, and they're happening one after the other. And so you should just kind of keep hearing the same story being told, even as you move from community to community. And Andy wrote a ton of that dialogue. Andy and the our other writer, Clay, they wrote a ton of dialogue to keep that story going much longer than the typical community lasts. And then Crazy Train wants to know, is there any chance in the future that we can store rucksacks at our outposts? And I know, so I wasn't in the group that decided this, but basically I know it was a very conscious decision to only let you return rucksacks at home.
Yeah.
So I actually wasn't on board for that decision. That was before my time. But my understanding was basically
we didn't have a reason to go home.
we needed you to go home, but also is something about you have the spoils of war, you got to take it home. But I feel like that actually, in my opinion, conflicts with the fact that you can open up storage lockers and get stuff there. So it's like,
it does seem kind
if you can do that, why can't you do rucksacks? So I agree, that's a very inconsistent flow. It's where we are today.
I think that part of it grew out of the fact that we had a very, very large game design up front, and we got to a point where, because of various things that happened during game development, we had to cut it way down. In fact, we had a question, I think one of our questions that came in over the internet prior to this, like Dave Martin on Facebook had asked, do you ever think we'll see a reintroduction of the event log from State of Decay 1 in the journal? It was a nice touch that helped form a story or history for communities. So that was in our plan right up until the last minute.
That was, Jeffrey and I had an idea.
Wow.
We had a plan.
Yeah.
We had a beautiful plan, and
it just had to be cut. And unfortunately, we had all kinds of ideas about, ways that you can interact with your base and stuff like that, and it ended up being cut way down, and a lot of our kind of the weirdest decisions in the game, places where you're like, why does it work that way? A lot of those were sort of stitching things together and making things work, under non-optimal conditions.
Yeah.
And so, we probably could have, if we'd been able to go back to the beginning, come up with sort of different motivations to get you to come home, to get you to interact with your base and feel like you live there without just making you come home to drop rucksacks off. But that was the solution that ended up happening because it was the option that we had. And so who knows how things are going to work in the future. I imagine that a future State of Decay game might have some fundamental differences with the way that this game works that just makes that entire question moot, right? Yeah. So who knows what we'll do in the future. But I mean, the question that you're raising, though, that was raised many times by people here at the studio. It's definitely a valid question, and part of one of the reasons why we have people like Susan on the team is to be one of the people who's raising those questions and weighing the trade-offs of questions like that.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that I don't know how often it gets mentioned officially, but we have a backlog this long of things that got cut or new things we discovered after launch that are really important that we really want to get in. So we have been having sustainment teams periodically go through the wish list and figuring out what can we feasibly do and sort what's the most important things in our opinion to do. So we are actively, all those things we wished for, they don't just disappear, they exist. It's kind of a graveyard at the moment, but they might get reanimated up,
and part of my job is actually curating that list and trying to bubble up the ones to the top that people want the most.
Right.
And it's not, we don't always get the things that people want the most on top because it's a complicated decision having to do with partly what do people want, but also who do we have available who isn't absolutely necessary for something else that we're doing right at that moment, and what kind of time we have, what else is going on at the studio that could be related. Are there some synergies we can take advantage of? Like, oh, if we're in this area anyway, can we fix these 5 things?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And so trying to decide what things we actually work on with the small amount of resources we have to devote to that kind of improvement, it's an interesting challenge, and it's one of my favorite parts of my job is trying to figure that out. And I think one of the reasons why I'm doing that job is because I talk to you guys every week. And you guys, and I talk to Joe Swarner all the time, and so as you guys are and to Megan, so you guys are passing this information of what you are missing and what you care the most about through those channels, that comes to me, and I get to use that to kind of inform a lot of the decisions we're making. I get these little labels that I put on stuff that says popular request, and if the request has come in from you guys, we treat it with much more seriousness than just our idle fancies of things we want to do to improve the game.
actually, that fits right into this question from the Royal Lions. What are your thoughts on dynamic weather, snow, thunderstorms? Falls again under something we really want. That is a really giant feature. I know it doesn't sound like it to some people, but it really is. Let me assure you, it touches 5,000 systems we have going on. But we agree that would be really cool.
Like
Absolutely.
whenever we play a game here that has those kinds of systems, a lot of what our artists are doing is they're going around and they're looking at what are all the little tiny things that it affects. If it's raining in Red Dead Redemption 2, like how many puddles appear in the terrain that were not there before, and that meant that an artist had to go through and add every single one of those puddles and had to decide which surfaces are shiny and which ones are not shiny in the rain.
And let me also reinforce, their team was, what, 7 times bigger than our team? I just want to please put that out into the internet and remind people that.
I counted. They have more people who are on their facility security credits than we have as our entire studio. So
just people watching the doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people checking badges at the door.
But we're a scrappy team, and you guys like that, right?
We've always been the little studio that wanted to be big, that played big, and it's obviously shows in a few areas where we just couldn't execute because we didn't have the bodies to put towards a problem.
Yeah, Uzi 9mm is like, finally they talked about dynamic weather, because we get the question all the time, and so a lot of the time we just let it just fly by because we've already answered it so many times and told you how much we love it.
I love Glass Baby saying it rains blood in my games because I rock.
Who needs rain when heads are exploding left and right?
That's amazing.
So I just picked up one of the best cars in the game because it does the scouting for you as you're driving.
It is.
Around.
Is that a Brogan?
It's also happens to be a Brogan car, which is also awesome. Because it's my child's name. I didn't name it, by the way. Somebody put that in.
I'm not gonna believe that.
As an homage, yeah.
That was Steve Theodore. Surprised me with the name of it.
Oh, that's a nice present.
That was cool of him.
You know what's not a nice present? This is leftover Daisy stuff right here.
So actually, that's a funny system. See that icon floating over that looks like a coffin?
Yeah.
That was a system I designed, what, like 6 months? Or I was part of about 6 months ago, where we said, hey, if one of your community members dies, their body just sat there. Whoa!
Nice hit!
Excellent.
Wow!
That is.
You got a good arm.
That's
Holy cow.
how you do it.
Anyways, it used to be that the body just sat there, and it was a heck of a time tracking it down, especially if you were alone and you had to spawn someone back at your base, and it was really hard to find your stuff on the dead body. So we worked out a system with design and engineering on having the icon, making sure that appeared on the mini map as well as the big map. Funny thing is, I worked on that all day, and then my mother called me that night.
Uh-oh.
And she said, "Oh, hi, hon, how you doing? What did you do today?" Well, Mom,
I
had to actually design how you loot stuff from a dead body. Aren't you proud of your daughter?
You finally made it.
I finally made it. I hope you're proud of me. They're always proud of me. I love my parents.
I could take the kitchen knife, too, just to round out the whole thing.
And then now the icon goes away.
Sorry, buddy.
So,
Bye.
SXO, you notice that Tova here is actually wearing some military type pants at least. SXO is asking about green military uniforms, which is something that we had several characters who had them early on in the game, and we stripped it out because it was causing errors in character generation. And it's taken us forever to get the chance to put those back in because it requires a lot of work by our character team to make enough variety in the models that it won't cause the errors anymore. And so that illustrates the whole, so that has been sitting at the top of my list with a little label on it saying popular request, please let's do this. And I brought it up for a couple of different times, but unfortunately our character team, we've got some super high-end, amazing character artists who are very necessary doing other things we can't talk about. And so I can't pull them away from the other things we can't talk about yet. But as soon as I can, that is the very top of our list, is trying to get that to you guys, because we know how much it matters to you. And so I'm very sorry that it took so long for us to get to the point where we could do it, and that it's still ongoing. But we know how important it is, and we do listen to this kind of thing. And when we don't do it, it's not because we just don't care. It's because there's a lot of other things going on that folks are also asking for, that they want to see. So we're doing our best, and you know, I'm gonna keep plugging away at it, and keep trying to make it happen. Oh, by the way, everyone just noticed that there is a clown. Yep.
Can I talk about the bug that happened with all clowns?
I don't know about it, so please tell me too.
Yes.
Do you not remember?
We love hearing about those.
I know.
No, we do.
Our game has a few bugs.
Our game is fun with bugs.
Maybe it was about a year ago. We had a problem where, so we had a couple of rare variants of zombies, like clowns and a few others, and it's supposed to, you know, occasionally pop in. Well, in programming, there's no true random. You have to come up with a random algorithm, and something was off, and it made it so that if a clown spawned, every other zombie after that would be a clown.
So the circus would come to town, basically.
It was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Which made
in your
inspiration.
Life, which is scarier, zombies or clowns?
Clown zombies are the worst. Absolutely. But yeah, it is. It could. Who knows? We can keep that in our pocket for something, some event that. It is now Clown Day. It's your worst nightmare doubled over. So that was pretty hilarious seeing those things in fruition. Then they get fixed, but I like to screen cap them and save them in my personal photo of lulz to look at later.
So Blaze Experience is getting impatient with our how long we've been spending in Cascade Hills. We were in Meager Valley forever. I feel like we just switched to Cascade Hills, but he's like, get to Drucker. I want to see more Drucker. So at some point, I'm sure we're going to switch to Drucker.
Oh, come on, lady.
But it might be easier a little bit later, maybe in a few weeks. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Oh, hey, you know what? It's about time to do our giveaway. So if you guys want to get a State of Decay pin, this is the right time to do it. Brant, can I ask you not to open the map for a little while?
Yeah.
Because, let's go over it. So our quiz question, if you want to get one of these State of Decay pins, is this. How many tabs are there on the map screen? This is the kind of thing that Susan has to think about a lot. You know, how complicated are we going to make our menus? Because, you know, there's a lot. I play some games right now that have an absolutely ridiculous number of tabs when you open up their map screen.
And our map screen and everything and that cycle menu is full screen, meaning you can't see when something's about to come up and bite you. Now, if a zombie, you know, does attack you, the whole thing closes out. But that's why we had to make that as slick as possible to access what you needed.
Oh, Brant, you're giving away the answers.
Damn it.
That's okay. I think people have mostly put their answers out anyway. We did have some wrong guesses though. This was interesting. I wasn't sure how many there were going to be.
We all know I'm a terrible person.
No, that's fine.
This should surprise no one.
But it is interesting. So we had to decide what stuff was just going to pop up on the right side of the screen and leave you, you know, able to see the world, and which things were going to fill the entire screen. Like,
actually, it's funny, as Magic Man 7 has the question of could you add transparency to the map screen? That is something we looked into, but the amount of power to render the map on top of the live game, just too much. So we had to actually, things happen under the surface when you have a full screen. There's a reason why I have it full screen. In this iteration, it would be great to.
Yeah, like alpha is very expensive. Alpha is the industry term for transparent things.
Yeah.
Especially full screen overdraw.
Yeah.
You're doubling every time you have an overlay that takes up the whole screen. You're doubling the number of draws automatically.
Yeah, it's like it takes twice as much effort to make each pixel happen.
Right. So this is one of those things where, as a UX person, I agree. I feel very vulnerable having something full screen while I'm trying not to get bitten by zombies, but it's something we had to concede to because it wouldn't run otherwise.
Can I open up the map screen now?
I'm sure that folks are good. Actually, let me just while you're working on that, I'm just going to give the answer. We're gonna so the answer, of course, is 3: map, community, and base. So right now, I think Megan is still tabulating the answers, the winners. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But at least you guys know, we're done with the question, and Brant can do whatever he likes.
I'm just gonna do some zombie tossing.
Ooh, do you have a puddle nearby so we can have bath time for Nubsy again?
So we did get a question.
Nubby.
We did get a question. It's very similar to the weather question. It's one that we get all the time. Folks are asking when or if would be able to give characters new outfits that they can change into. And part of the problem of that is we built our character system, like the character models, the way they work, from the ground up. It's built so that each model is one solid piece. It's the face and the clothes, everything all put together by an artist to look as cool and awesome as possible. It's not really, I mean, it is assembled from pieces, but those pieces exist, like, we do that before we put them in the game. There's some parts of the game that are assembled at runtime. That means that they exist in pieces and the game puts them together. But sometimes things are assembled beforehand and they just only exist as these models in the game. And so we actually can't just swap outfits between characters. And so if we wanted to put in a system that let you customize the clothing of your characters, we would have to fundamentally rewrite the way our characters are being assembled from the ground up, which could lead to a lot of bugs and a lot of headaches and a lot of problems. And so far, we've hesitated to make that kind of a sweeping change because of what it would do. Now, we have heard how much people are interested in that feature. And so when we talk about the future of State of Decay and starting another thing from the ground up, we bear that in mind, and we sort of, you keep in mind the fact that, that people have been asking for this. Doesn't guarantee we're definitely going to make that decision in the future, because there's always going to be trade-offs and reasons why we might need to make other decisions. But we have heard you guys. If we don't do it in State of Decay 2, it's probably because the technical side of it would be so difficult to rewrite everything from the ground up to support that feature.
We're both huge fans of the idea of character customization. Let me also just say that we had so many fun ideas of picking outfits and everything, and it's just kind of the nature of the thing. But also, in the nature of State of Decay as a franchise, when you're surviving and you're out in the wilderness, and some random person wants to join you, you don't get to say, I'm going to change your outfit first before you can join our community. It actually fits the theme of what we're trying to do, at least.
Yeah,
so
we do try to emphasize a lot that each character is an individual, right? And you want them all to be recognizable. And part of that is, we don't actually get to see their faces all that closely most of the time. And so their outfits are actually a big part of how they stand out as individuals and become recognizable. And if we let you change the outfits, like dress everyone the same all the time, it would be a lot. I mean, folks who have entire Red Talon communities probably have this experience where it's hard to actually tell your characters apart and know who you're talking to and who you're approaching, because the outfits are such a huge part of how they stand out from each other. So if we were to make a version of State of Decay that had customizable outfits, we would actually have to put a lot of thought and effort into figuring out, well, how can we get you to see their faces more often and get closer to them and start recognizing them by means other than the clothes that they happen to have on. We got winners, by the way. So the winners, the people who are going to be getting these State of Decay pins, are on Twitch, Screw Loose is the winner. On YouTube, Eli Fritch is the winner. And on Mixer, SXO 6 Maze 1 is the winner. And so I'm sorry that we can't get you characters with army outfits on SXO, but we can get you a pin. So these guys, just so you guys know how this works, they weren't necessarily the first ones who got the right answer, but they were among the first group that got the right answer, and then we did some randomness to get our winners, because we don't want it to be dependent, like whoever has the fastest internet connection is the one who's always gonna win the prize. That didn't feel fair. And so you guys are the winners. Congratulations. Megan's going to try to get in contact with you, and if for some reason you can't get in contact with her, you can send an email to social@undeadlabs.com and say, hey, what happened to my pin? In fact, we had one person we were not able to get into contact with last week. That person is named Tyrannus X1 on Mixer. So Tyrannus, if you're out there, we really would like to get your, you actually got a water bottle. We'd like to get a water bottle to you, but we weren't able to make it happen on the day. So please, if you're listening to this, contact us, social@undeadlabs.com.
I want to just do a quick, shout out to Black Ops and Jazzman. I love you guys lulzing at the food icon being a pizza, because I love that too. And in my headcanon, all you're getting is rucksacks full of pizza, just because it's really hilarious. So I'm glad you guys like it too.
Isn't that how everybody gets their pizza, in a sack?
Giant sack, big round sack.
I would like a bag of pizza, please.
Go to Domino's.
I just imagine it's full to the brim of just individual slices, all stacked up inside of it.
Yeah.
So that was actually a case of a UX. The person who was doing most of our UX work was our UI implementer, Krista, earlier before we hired Susan, and that pizza icon was her idea. When I first saw it, I was against it. I was fighting it really, really hard because I was like, no, but it just looks like it's only pizza. It doesn't look like it's food. And I was like being weird about it. And she was absolutely right. That pizza is freaking hilarious. It definitely says food. Everyone understands that it means food. No one's confused. And it really stands out and no one else is using pizza. And so it's like, it's memorable, it's recognizable, it means something, and people laugh when they see it. And so it wins. It's absolutely the thing we should have done. And I was completely wrong in those arguments where I was saying that we shouldn't do it.
That's
so,
big of you to say.
and that's what honestly the biggest skill for being a game designer is being able to say other people are right, because that's how you're going to get the best ideas. So Krista was right about that pizza, 100%.
Dick Van Troglodyte. Pizza is also my love language as well. So if you guys could have a rucksack full of pizza, what pizza would it be though?
I don't want to get dragged on the internet for saying Hawaiian, but like that's basically been my flavor my entire life. I hated pizza as a kid, and it wasn't until I tried Hawaiian that I started liking it.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack, Jeffrey.
I know, right? And I'm just going to get destroyed over it because people, for some reason, are very patriotic about hating Hawaiian pizza.
I'm gonna go a step further. My favorite pizza is pepperoni and pineapple.
So spicy.
So
Hawaiian.
spicy Hawaiian.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a portmanteau out of that, and I can't.
That's true.
So,
I don't know that word.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Don't use big words or foreign words with me.
So I've got somebody on my Facebook feed who every single day comes up with a new portmanteau.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a made-up word smashing two other words together.
Oh. Yeah.
And then I found somebody here at the lab sent around. There was one on the internet, like a bot that would basically create portmanteaus for you. About you just enter two subjects and it comes up with a list of portmanteaus about it. And I was like, wait, I've got my I don't need my friend anymore because I've got a device that does what he does.
Oh.
So we're running low on time, and we should make sure that we talk about the panel that you're going to be doing.
Right.
You and several of your colleagues here and several of your colleagues elsewhere.
That's true.
At Emerald City Comicon. Can you tell us about this thing?
Yes. So at Emerald City Comicon up in Seattle, I will be on a panel with a handful of other employees from the lab, and we will have a Women in Games panel. But it's less about, I guess, how to get into games and more into how to stick around and be supportive when there's not a lot of us. So they're really awesome people. I'm really excited. I'm honored to be asked to be on this panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the Seattle area, that's on Sunday, and we'd love to see you.
That's Sunday, March 17th, right? So it's actually a couple of weeks from now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so Sunday, March 17th. It's called Women in Tech. May we be them, may we know them, may we raise them. So I can't be them, but I am trying to know them and raise them as much as I can.
I think you're raising them really well, Jeffrey. Your daughters are adorable and
I
really
hope
smart. So,
I hope some of them get into tech. My littlest daughter was just she was doing some math homework the other day, and she was given 8 plus 7, and so she did it in her head and just wrote down 15. But there was a section that said show your work, so I was like, okay, just write down whatever you did. And so she wrote down what she did. And what she did was she figured, well, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 7 plus 7 is 14, so the answer must be between them. It must be 15.
Oh my gosh, that's
and so
amazing.
she was doing averaging to do basic addition. I'm like, you think just like a programmer. You should totally get into tech. And it made her feel good because, because I told her, you've got a great head for math. And she's like, I don't have a good head for math. I'm not good at math. I was like, no.
Good.
You are good at math.
Yes.
Look what you just did. That's what good people at math do. What you aren't is you don't like boring math. She really doesn't like doing pages and pages of addition problems.
I think it's a lot of people's problem because figuring out how to practically use this will make it a lot more approachable because no one cares. I hate problems where it's like a bee is perfectly making a circumference. I was like, bees don't fly that way. Stop. And just in my head, I was just already be like, no, like I refuse to answer.
I wouldn't have been able to get that answer because I don't have 14 or 16 fingers.
Yeah, in my head, so actually, like my mental math always looks like wooden blocks that are different heights sliding up and down a number line. That's the picture that I get in my head when I'm trying to add things. I don't know why that is the way it works, but it is. I'm trying to add 8 plus 7. I have like an 8 tall thing. I get a 7 tall thing. I'm like, oh yeah, it goes 2. It goes 2 past the 10 line, and that means there's 5 left, so it must be 15. I've been doing that like for decades.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it says you're a visual learner.
I think so. Yeah. That's probably why I'm a designer, because I'm just like weird pictures for everything. I don't know. But yeah, but it was cool. So anyway, the point is, I love that you're doing this panel because I want my daughters to be inspired by people like you. And so yeah, Emerald City Comicon. If you're anywhere nearby, attend it May 17th, Sunday. This panel, Women in Tech, and you can see Susan there.
That's neat. Also, I want to pitch, my friend Matt Hanniger is doing one of our colleagues at Undead Labs as well, is doing a panel at GDC. If you're down in the Bay Area and going to that, he's doing one on
Grammetry.
Photogrammetry, not sure how to pronounce that. But it is how we got a ton of head models into our game for relatively cheap. It is really awesome, so all you GDC goers, check it out. He'd love to have you in his panel.
Yeah, it's going through the process of having your face scanned for our game. It's not like what you see, like, you know, when like, you know, they have like a laser or something like that when you're seeing like behind the scenes footage from movies. It's basically Matt takes these lights that we use here for our stream, and he borrows them for a bit, and he shines them really brightly over someone's face, and then just takes a camera and just takes a million pictures. And he's got software that knows how to take all those images and combine them into a 3D model, into a textured 3D model. And then there's some processing he has to do to make that model actually usable for the game. But it's really amazing stuff. And it just blows your mind that a computer can figure out how to do these things. And so yeah, so his GDC talk is going to be really cool.
And he also just recently scanned my sister. So I'm trying to get someone to design a mission where it involves a pair of sisters so that she and I can be,
can be in it.
so we can be together in the game. One can hope. Jeffrey.
Well, I wish I had that kind of power to decide. Right now, I'm working on some mission stuff for things we can't talk about. But yeah, so I just work on little tiny missions. I'm not making the big plans for the next thing, but that's okay. I'm pretty happy sort of curating my little list of bugs we're gonna fix and little tiny features we're gonna add. That's my favorite part of my job right now, aside from being on this stream with you guys, of course. So let's see here.
Well, just as an update to your community.
Yeah, how are we doing?
I did everything I possibly could to recruit people, and I didn't get to recruit anybody.
What?
That's awesome. I really need to do some work on the side on this community anyway, so this is probably good motivation for me to do it.
I did a whole bunch of jobs for people who apparently just are takers and not givers.
Oh,
I think we actually had a few people mention that in the comments that you know, very often, you know, they'll be looking for people and they just they don't get any of the ones that are recruitable just by chance, and that's one of the dangers of random number generators is sometimes you just don't get the thing you're looking for.
Well, and I think we're getting close to the point where I'll be able to well, these guys are absolutely takers. Do not give them anything more. But these guys have some medical people. The people down here, they got a bunch of surgeons. That's who we need.
Yeah. Oh, so Red Moonwolf, just, you know, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but asks, are we going to add environment kills, specifically remembering the explodable propane tanks and things like that from the original State of Decay? That was another thing that got caught at the last minute.
Not in State of Decay 2, at least not right now, that I know of.
It would take a lot of placement to just get that stuff into the world.
I mean, that's possible. The problem is that we've got basically topped out the number of interactables we can have memory-wise already with breakable fences and stuff like that. So
it was basically fences or propane tanks. We kind of sacrificed propane tanks to get the fences, but holy crap, the fences are fun.
And I mean, personally, I'd much rather see fences break than have the occasional shootable propane tank. Getting the zombies to gather around them is always a hassle anyway, right?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's not to say that we don't want to do that. It was a trade-off that we were okay making at that point. So.
Oh, Jesse Baker asks, who made the art for the achievement picks? Because I have one of them on my lock screen.
Oh, is that Doug?
It's Doug.
Yeah. Our art director, Doug, who's insanely talented and a really sweet guy, he made all the Chivo icons.
And if you guys haven't been paying attention to the achievement art, you should. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, all of our YouTube thumbnails, with only a few exceptions, are taken from Doug's achievement art. So you can just go through the list of videos on this channel, and you can see the kind of art we're talking about. These beautiful kind of loose sketches with a kind of a watercolor vibe to them. It's really, really nice. He does awesome work there. And you'll notice, by the way, that if you've been tracking our achievements, the art that I've been using for the thumbnails for the last several weeks, none of them appear in our achievements yet for some reason. It's like he made a bunch of achievement art that is not yet available to you guys, but I've been using it for our thumbnails. So probably the thumbnail for this video will also be an unused piece of achievement art. And it makes you wonder, are there going to be new achievements sometime in the future? What's going on there? Maybe we'll be able to talk about it later, but...
is there an achievement with a pizza icon anywhere in it?
I want no idea.
Please check if there is. That's so, can that be the thumbnail for this? It's
I will try to find pizza, and if there is not pizza, I don't know what we'll do, but I will look for pizza first. So if there was a pizza on the thumbnail for this video, then you know I was successful, audience. But with that, it is 3 o'clock. We should get out of here. But thank you so much, Susan, for coming here. You can see Susan's got her Twitter handle down there, Miss Suze22. If you guys want to follow her, that's great. We also got Brant down there. So come talk to us if you want to keep talking to us, and we'd love to answer your questions and be your buddies. And I'm Jeffrey Card at Rangatang on Twitter, and we will all see you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
Thanks for stopping by.
We'll be on for another 20 seconds or so while people click on YouTube links.
You know what I don't like about our community? I'm kidding. I know you guys can hear me. This is a joke.
And also, we got a little thing here that says, go see Susan at Emerald City Comicon.